really flat feet. And believe it or not, we see people like this in the store whose feet are really, really flat. These feet, when they land on the outside, tend to stay there. And when they go this way, they go way over. So this foot, while it's a great shock absorber because it has lots of movement, is really, really bad for shins and knees, hips and back. So you can see, this is a Brooks shoe. It's in the motion control category. And it works very much like this one, only more of it. So you land, you've got hydroflow. You roll into the blue. Those two things are very similar in the same shoes, but this one has a whole, this dual density comes up higher in the shoe, and then it's reinforced much more than this one. So this shoe has more control than this one. If you had you needed a support shoe, but you didn't need quite as much as this one, and you were to put this one on, it would feel very stiff, because it's trying to dictate to your foot what your foot doesn't want to do. So finding the right shoes, you go, okay, so for insurance sake, I'm just going to go out and buy this shoe, because then I know I can't roll in, and my knees have been killing me, I can't roll in. But this wouldn't be very comfortable if you didn't need this, this much support, because your foot still has to be allowed to do what it wants to do. We just want to give it a little bit of support. Walking shoes are great. We sell more running shoes in our store than we do walking shoes to walkers. But if you like a walking shoe, there's nothing wrong with that. The differences between the two are first quite obvious. This is leather, this is mesh, so this is much more breathable. It's also lighter because the mesh doesn't weigh as much as the synthetic fabrics that walking shoes are made out of. This shoe is from New Balance, and New Balance uses Absorb for shock absorption and cushioning. It doesn't have quite the shock absorption that a running shoe does because walkers don't create as much, so they don't put it in the shoe. So this has more shock absorption. This shoe, interestingly, as you land and roll this way, has a graphite roll bar. So this is very stiff here, and it actually goes underneath the shoe and comes up here. So the way the foot is supported in this shoe is by holding the rear foot so he can't move around. So it has lots of support. The other major difference between walking and running shoes is on the bottom, because the walking strike path for a walking shoe is from here to here. Whereas a running shoe, because runners move around so much, has flex grooves that allow the foot to move in a running motion. So this shoe tends to be more flexible. If you do walking and running, you definitely want to wear a running shoe. If you've been a runner and then you go to walking, this is definitely going to feel, the running shoe is definitely going to feel better to you because you've gotten used to the feeling of that flexibility. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with this shoe. So now when you come into the store, the way we determine what category you belong in is by we ask that you bring your old shoes, because the wear patterns on them, how you've worn them, gives us a tremendous amount of information. And also, we ask you to take off your shoes and we watch you walk in your bare feet or with socks on, and watch and see how much that ankle collapses, how much the arch collapses. And then from there, we bring out shoes for you to try on. Shoes is size. And it's surprising to us how few people know what size shoe they wear. So we measure everybody's foot. It is not unusual to wear a half a size or even a whole size larger in our shoes than in dress shoes or other shoes. Primarily that's because shoes in Nordstrom's or Penny's or wherever, DSW, are the size 8s that you buy are actually a size 9. But they call them size 8 because you like them better. And our shoes, a size 9 is a size 9. So we measure everybody's feet to make sure that we put you in the right size shoes. You want to make sure that you have about a thumbnail's width between the end of your toe and the end of the shoe. You don't want your toes to be right up at the end. You can put your shoes on in the morning. You go, oh, these feel really good. And you go out for your walk and you're out for an hour or an hour and a half, whatever. And all of a sudden these shoes that felt really good when you put them on, now your feet are feeling achy. You can feel the end of your toes hitting the end of the shoe. And that's because when we walk or run, we get 90 to 95% more blood flow in our legs. So those are the cells that are working, so blood flows down there so that those cells can get oxygen, carbohydrates, blah, blah, blah. We actually have a very inefficient system for getting all this blood that's down in our legs back up to our hearts against gravity. So the longer you're out there, the more the blood pools in the lowest place, your feet. So you want to make sure that you leave enough room both width-wise and lengthwise for that expansion to take place. It's kind of like when you go shopping all day long, you come home and you go, oh my God, get these shoes off my feet. It's the same thing. And you don't want to stop exercising because now your feet feel, your feet are complaining because your shoes are too tight. Old. Walking shoes are good for about 500 walking miles. Running shoes are, if you run in them, it's good for about 350, 400 running miles. Most people don't keep track, and a lot of people wear their shoes for other things besides just walking and running. So we suggest that you buy new shoes every 6 months, twice a year. Buy yourself a new pair of shoes. And the reason for that is if you look at the bottom, in 6 months, you go, oh, that woman, she just wants to sell a pair of shoes because you can barely see the wear on the bottom. And if you wear them just around here, our community is really clean, they look really great on the upper. There's no holes, they still look clean. But it's not the bottoms and it's not the tops that get dirty. It's the midsole. And every time you take a step, this midsole compresses because you are landing on it. It rebounds, but never completely. So in an old pair of shoes, you can look and you can actually see little creases here, and if you press on it, it's really squishy. That means that it's not providing the shock absorption and the cushioning that it did when it was brand new. So that's a good reason that's the reason why you need to replace your shoes. Another way to tell is if you take the toe and you push it, if this toe can go up to the laces, then you know that there's nothing underneath you right here. So in order to protect your joints and your soft tissue, it's really a good idea to replace those shoes every 500 walking miles, 400 running miles, or twice a year, every 6 months. Okay. Questions? Oh, one other thing.